Hello again. We're now on to Chapter 14, discussing the employee's right to privacy and management of personal information. This is something that has recently grown with our increase of technology in the workplace. Monitoring an employee's privacy used to be getting into employees' personnel files, potentially sharing information that's written down, if there was an employee that shared company information. But now with the increase of technology, employers have a vested interest in really monitoring their employees' progress and their communication on the work site. But a lot of people wonder, when does too much become too much? If you are signing an agreement at work, most industries, most businesses have some sort of technology policy, communications policy. This is the employer's way of protecting themselves, that they will have their employees sign that states while you're using a company computer, a company phone, your information could be monitored. And that's something that we want to make sure that we do, again, on our end to protect ourselves as an organization. We want to make sure that we're not infringing upon our employees' right to privacy. This is a government right mandated by the Constitution that an employee has a right to privacy. So in the workplace, what does that really extend to? This chapter does an excellent job. It really hits on a lot of the legal elements, delves into a lot of the case studies, which I believe we do pull a case study for this week's assignment, if I'm correct. The chapter begins with the concept of a balancing act. We as an organization need to find out what is the appropriate balancing act between monitoring what an employee is doing while being paid, while on the work site, and also maintaining that privacy clause. We know that there are some places the law states where an employee or a person should have the right to be left alone, the right to privacy within reasonable spots such as a locker room, a restroom. Those areas would not have cameras or listening equipment, anything of that nature, but working on an employer's computer, that would most likely have some sort of oversight. If you drive a company car, those tend to have GPS monitoring. Again, you might say, from an employee's standpoint, what is too much? But from an employer's standpoint, you might want to say, well, gas is expensive. I want to make sure that when I send you out to do a service call that you're not taking 2 hours, which should really take you 15 minutes because you're driving around. I find you on the other opposite end of town than where you should be. It's one way of making sure that our employees are productive. Again, that balancing act. So we know from a background standpoint, privacy rules, privacy regulations come from the Constitution, which is the federal and state level. And then there are also common law practices that vary state to state. And then every organization it would be imperative, very smart of them, to have some sort of policy that governs employee privacy, specifically hitting on technology in the workplace, since that's something that's growing. Searching of an employee, employees have the right to privacy for their body, so for illegal search and seizures would not be appropriate. You can state in your policy that you have the right to monitor the computers, that you can pull up the phone logs, whatever that might be. But an employer does not have the right to go into an employee's personal space, and that could be searching someone's purse, briefcase. That is not allowed by law, and something that would certainly end up in the federal system if it were to come up. The concept of wiretapping is hit on in the chapter, not really relevant to some of us in small organizations, more on the federal level. As we have a growing economy, more of a global economy, we will see more monitoring, and it will probably increase in the next 10 to 15, 20 years. There is a difference on employee rights to privacy for those working in the public sector and those working in the private sector. There is a difference. We have less privacy protection in the private sector, believe it or not. We've already discussed at-will employment. That is something that comes up here in this chapter. The right that employers have to let an employee go at any point in time without a reason. Again, we want to make sure we have a solid reason so they don't find themselves in court, but you have the right as an employer to say, it's just not working out. Here's your check, have a nice day. That's kind of a nice backup for an employer if they have an employee they feel is not working out. And from the employee's standpoint, you also have the right to come in and say, this isn't what I thought it would be. I'm not enjoying my job. I've got another offer, whatever it might be. And you have the ability to walk away without any type of punitive results. The chapter hits on a few more cases, a little bit more of the legal background. Something that employees have brought up, or there have been more cases lately, is the employer's regulation of employees' time off of work. Facebook is a great one. Employers do not have the right to invade someone's privacy, but if you friend your employer, or you friend a potential employer, if you're an applicant for organization, then they do have the same rights as anyone in your Facebook would have to go through your account, look at your pictures, whatever it might be. And employers do have the right to monitor any off-site, off-work activities that might inhibit your ability to do your job. Drug testing is a great example of that. We could do random drug tests. We can make sure that you don't show up to work intoxicated. Well, I can't keep you from drinking while you're not at work. I can keep you from working while you're intoxicated. So the two are linked. That's a right that employers do have. Want to make sure that every organization has some really strong policies on employees' right to privacy, or else we might find ourselves on the wrong end of a legal battle. Keep up the good work. You guys are doing a great job. Don't forget your burning questions. We're moving through the chapters, getting to the end of the course pretty soon, so make sure that you're working on your final presentations and your final paper. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email, give me a call, and make sure that you're communicating with one another. The forums are an excellent way to do that. Talk to you soon.